LA isn't exactly the Emerald City, but there is someone here who remembers making a trip to Oz. Actress Fairuza Balk. In 1985, at the tender age of 9, she took on the lead role in the sequel to one of the most beloved movies of all time, The Wizard of Oz.
I know that they went through all of America and Canada into Europe. They, like, tens of thousands of children. First of all, I went to a cattle call in Vancouver, which is like 300 children, and some of us got to go on tape. I was lucky. I went on tape with Mike Fenton, and then they cut it down to 12 girls, brought us all out to LA, did more screen tests. Then it cut down to 2 girls, and we went to London, and then it got down to 1 girl, which was me. My mom was there with me, though. So she, every night before I went to bed, we'd sit and look at the scenes for the next day and just memorize them until I had them down for the next day. It was a lot of work, and I think towards the end of the filming, it was a very long shoot, it was about 8 or 9 months. Towards the end of the filming, I got a little tired, and that's when I began to realize it was work. Because it wasn't just, you know, what you wanted to do when you wanted to do it. You had to get up every morning and go and be a professional. And as a child, that's kind of a hard concept to grasp. And you have to grasp it like that. You know, there's no fooling around. You can't not go when you feel like playing, you know. You have to be responsible. I think it makes you an adult very quickly. The books are amazing. The books are really amazing. I've read them, and they're just fascinating stories. It's also the idea of, I think when you're a little kid, especially for children, we all want to have that magical place to disappear to. We all want to be able to go to another world, like a world of fantasy, and we create that for ourselves as children when we play. When we say, oh, you know, now I'm climbing a mountain, and, you know, you're climbing the steps to your back door, you know, or whatever. It's the imagination, and it's an extension of that. And so I think for children, as well as for adults, it's like this whole world that represents that to them, you know, which is very important. It's very important to keep that as you grow older and not to forget, because if you lose your imagination, you're like a hollow shell, you know, you lose a big part of your access to your soul, I think. The claymation was post, the animatronics and stuff, that was really kind of at the beginning of that whole time. There was, I can think of, you know, there was the Labyrinth, the Dark Crystal, there was a bunch of those films made with the animatronics, and it was the Jim Henson gang. Brian Henson, the son, was there, and it was wonderful because I knew all the animatronics engineers. So as a kid, it's easier to talk to a chicken, you know, you can just do it and not think about it, you know. But then you've got all the guys, you know, back there telling you jokes through the chicken head, you know, when the camera's not on and stuff. And it was just, it's interesting because people, you know, oh, was it scary at that time or whatever? And it's like, you see how all the inner workings of the film work. So you have to understand all the technical aspects to be able to do the job. So in that way, it's not scary or difficult, it's just fun. Walter Murch is a very special man. I mean, I'll end up going on and on for hours, really. I mean, I'm still in touch with him, and he's got to be one of the most interesting, wonderful people that anyone could ever be directed by, because he's very sensitive. He's one of the greatest editors ever, you know. He teaches editing all around the world, sound editing and picture editing. And that's probably what he's, you know, most known for. So he has a very interesting way of perception, you know, and was brilliant working with me as a kid because he could think the way that I did. Instead of having an adult thinking here and a child thinking here, he put himself into my mind so that he could see things like on a par, which really helped me a lot. I felt like an equal with him instead of feeling like the kid, you know? They all really made me feel like I was part of it and had earned my way, and, you know, so that was great. Nicole Williamson is wonderful. He's an amazing actor. His history, and I mean, I loved him. I know it's silly, but I loved him as Merlin in Excalibur. I love him. He's very bizarre and unique, and very sweet man. As well as Piper Laurie, Jean Marsh, everybody on there they were a dream. They really were. There was no. Most often there's always someone, that's difficult or doesn't really want to be there, and everybody there was very into their job and very into being there and very sweet to me. None of them were nasty to me. We just had a really good time, and it was hard work. TikTok there was a man inside of TikTok, upside down. He had his legs out like that. So, and he was a gymnast. So his legs come up here, right? And then he has bent completely over and underneath. And so he's looking, here's the feet and here's the round part of the middle section. He's bent completely over. So his back is completely bent the wrong way, like over. And he's looking at a little screen on the inside so he can see where he's going. But it's an incredible difficult position to be crouched in, and you have to, once you're in, you have to stay there. You can't just do it for 30 seconds. But he was wonderful, really funny. And Jack was very complicated, because Jack was all, there was a guy named Stuart who played Jack, who is incredibly tall and incredibly thin when he had to be walking. When we had to see him full figure. But otherwise it was Brian Henson and the gang that made him work. So it was very intricate. Every finger, every tiny movement of the body is controlled by someone's hands, by a finger movement or something. And it's just ingenious how they make that work. It's so complicated when you see all the wires and the time and just all the effort and work that goes into it. It's just mind-blowing. It was a crowd scene, so there's hundreds and hundreds of people on a sound stage, so it was about 130 degrees. And all of us were sweating. It was very hot, with bright lights and mirrors everywhere. So it was fun and it was beautiful to look at, but I got into the Cowardly Lion's back, and we'd done it a couple of times, and with those huge scenes you can't do them too many times because there's so many workings going on, and I was sitting on it and I'm waving and I'm happy, and all of a sudden I just kind of went, hey, and I just fell off, and everyone came running up, wake up, just because it was hot. But I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh, I fainted, But I was constantly trying to blow on the guy inside the Cowardly Lion suit, because the suit weighs like 200 pounds, and in like 110 degree heat, that's pretty major. That's pretty difficult. They had the opening at Radio City Music Hall, and it was a big deal. I remember, I flew all over the world. I went to Japan, all over Europe, went to Cannes, all these things. My dresses were made by Emmanuel of London and all this stuff. It's very difficult to make anything that could be perceived as a sequel to a classic film, because people are so married to it. They're in love with it, and they want you to be able to reproduce more of what that same thing is, and that's impossible, But I think that Return to Oz is an incredibly unique, surreal, amazing film, and it's got a lot of really serious fans, people that even now, I'm amazed that they followed my career. The fame that I have gotten, I'm very lucky. My fans, the people that I've met anyway, are really nice people. It's gotten more in the past couple of years with people recognizing me just on the street and stuff, but in general, I'm still pretty anonymous, and I value it through the roof. For years and years, people have said, I can't find your first movie. Where, because it wasn't out on video. No one could find it anywhere in the world. A lot of people are going to be really happy about this, people that have been looking for it. And I'm happy, I'm glad people remember it. It was like this whole huge chapter of my life as a kid, that's I'm never going to forget. It's the whole beginning of my introduction to this this life, this career. I watched it for the first time in probably since I was a little girl, and I got so emotional. I really just, the music is incredible. The music is so beautiful, and just watching, it was just so amazing looking back and watching, because you remember every day. You remember, oh, on that day it was freezing and this happened, or on that day, oh, there's something funny happened, and every single shot, every angle, you remember something, and it was wonderful, because not many people can do that, can look back on their childhood and have something that can bring so many memories back, you know, and it was, I don't know, it made me feel really good. Very sentimental.